we pay for being born and we pay for dying.
Instead of cemeteries, so people have a forest.
Or you can donate your deceased body.
The necropolis, where you keep the urns and so on.
So sci-fi.
Adding a bit of ashes into the ink and tattooing something.
They are ideas. They're not proven.
Green burial, as eco-friendly as possible.
You know that body is going to be cremated and it's going to be burning kind of environment before hell.
The hologram of her deceased father,
I guess she was using kind of internet program that brought the husband back to life in digital environment.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the BigAppleSchool Podcast, the bi-weekly English show where we speak about everything under the sun. The major goal of this show is to help you with your listening skills and, of course, learn something new. My name's Katerina, I'm your host, and today with me,
Ayoub.
Ugur.
And last but not least,
Alyona.
So guys, how are you doing? What's up? How are you enjoying this cold weather?
Yeah, the weather has changed again. So we had, I think, 2 beautiful weeks of almost spring.
Ah, yeah.
And yesterday it started to snow again, like in the middle of nowhere.
Out of nowhere,
right? And
you know,
in the middle of my class, when at the beginning of my class, I have told my student, like,
look at this beautiful sunshine.
So the student is from Moscow, and I was like, oh, the weather in Novosibirsk is so good. Yeah, and like, okay, so
like, come again.
Yeah,
what's
it
the weather
decided like, aha.
I'm a bit jealous of my students who live like in Italy, Cyprus, and they told me about trees blooming, flowers everywhere.
Yeah. My other student, I'm sorry guys, is from Krasnodar.
And you're like very happy and not at all jealous.
Yeah, 20 degrees centigrade. Adorable.
So yeah, it's time to start thinking about summer plans, like we still have time before that to organize, but nice to think about the warm weather that is waiting for us. Any other news, updates?
Well, the snow started clearing off the road, so it's easy to walk. So that's good.
And there is dust.
Yeah.
It came back, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get used to that.
Yeah.
So that's our friend.
It makes me sneeze, but yeah.
Spring and summer and dust go hand in hand together. So
definitely, yeah.
Alrighty, so we are here today to talk about a bit of a macabre topic, a little bit of a darkness. So we are here to talk about death and future of death and culture of funeral. So we're going to be looking at this from the point of view of potential future, from the cultural perspective, and so on and so forth. So, and my first question is, how do you think the history of funerals and, the attitude to that has changed over time? Because let's say if we compare now, 2023 with, let's say, 30, 50 years ago, so what seems to have changed?
Well, if we speak about the USA, I read that like in the early ages, like maybe in the 70s, they had like only 6% of cremation. And with time, like they started adopting this culture, you can say. It's like a kind of culture, yes. And now this rate of cremation raised. And they said that by 2030, the rate will increase to 70%. Like 70% of the population will perform cremation for their dead people.
Why do you think is that?
I have no idea. Maybe like the funeral, like the cemeteries are occupying some space. I don't know. Maybe
lack of space, most
lack
probably.
Of space, yeah, that could be one of the reasons. I actually know that in Yakutia, where I'm from, the thing is that Yakutsk, the city is quite small. So it's more of a town than a city by Russian standards. And the thing is that the city is growing. So they're building more and more and more buildings and residential areas. But there are also cemeteries. So what to do? They want the city to be growing, but there are cemeteries that take up space. And we always say that the city is built on bones, Because, you know, the buildings that are there now, you know, used to be cemeteries and so on, but then they were like dug up and so on. So, yeah, so lack of space, that's for sure, especially in bigger cities, I would say.
I'd say it's the same about Novosibirsk as well. Everybody, I think, local, who is local, everybody remembers the story about Birch Russia, Березовая Russia, and the park, which was and is considered to be built on the area where the cemetery was, So, and there are some places within the city center with the same history, So
yeah, lack of space for sure. You know, I remember when I was in Boston, there was some sort of historical cemeteries, of course, because, you know, they had some historical figures and so on. And obviously they were taken care of. But all in all,
Like memorial.
More of a memorial, I think it also might have to do with the financial side of that as well.
Like you mean the morticians and all the funeral preparations and everything.
The preparation, especially in winter, you need to somehow warm up the ground in order to dig up. Yeah. So, and it has a lot of people involved. So, and it's quite expensive, I would expect.
Yeah.
So in this case, people can kind of cut the cost, especially the cost that, you know, for the government as well, because I can imagine it's kind of cheaper to be cremated and so on. So definitely, I think this tendency to prefer cremation over burial can be observed in many, many, many countries in these days. I do not know about Europe because Europe does not have much space. Like, I mean, a lot of bigger cities, they're so packed. So I can imagine that would be the same tendency.
Probably so. But another reason why people would prefer cremation to just usual burial, I think it's maybe the ritual itself. I mean, it might seem to be more beautiful, probably, or more sacred, something like that. So the idea of turning the body of that person, like your body in the future, right, to ashes, instead of being rotten, I think it's more comforting, something like that.
It totally depends on what a person believes in.
Right.
Because my dad used to say that no matter where I am, like, I don't want to be like decomposing and being there with the worms when I die. So he was so keen on being cremated when he dies.
But don't you think it's kind of a traumatic experience for the relatives of the deceased person? All right, you lost a person.
Yes.
And you know that body is going to be cremated and it's going to be burning kind of environment before hell. So,
okay, can we leave that for the after show? Because I have a personal story. Like, my dad passed away 2 years ago, so I can talk about
the
this.
Crematorium.
About the crematorium and all that. Because you would be surprised, because that's the opposite.
Okay, bring it on. I'll be waiting for that.
So, a little bit intrigue for you and the listeners, you know.
All right.
So, you know, I have to come clean that I'm glad that we have this topic, because the topic of death is still stigmatized in society. People avoid talking about that. People avoid thinking about that, but it's a huge part of our life, whether we want it or not.
It's inevitable, yes. Yeah.
Yes, it's inevitable. And I think it's still inevitable to be like not talking about that. Why? Because we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen to our spirits if there is that afterlife or something like that. So that's why there is some sort of stigma. I think.
Well, the unknown, the fear of the
great unknown.
But on the other hand, you know what surprised me? I have very mixed feelings about that, because apparently, so when we were choosing a niche in the, what's it called? I know from Latin, there is a word called columbarium or something, like the necropolis, where you keep the urns and so on. When we were choosing a niche over there in the necropolis, we saw a lot of empty spots, and we're like, oh, can we take something like one of those? Because, you know, it's nice level and so on and so forth. And we were told like, no, these are taken. We're like, oh, okay. We're like, oh, that's sad. And they're like, oh, these were taken by people who are alive in their 30s.
They resorted.
Yeah, in their 30s and 40s. People just chose a spot for themselves in a necropolis when they're still, young and active and so on. And I have mixed feelings about that, I have to say, because it's one thing to think about death and know like, okay, this is inevitable. Sometime in the future, that's going to happen. Have a spot waiting for you. Like, I don't know.
Being precautious, maybe.
Prepared.
Yeah. So just you're thinking the possibility all the area will be occupied and you're just being precautious. And okay, my dad has a spot already. Yeah.
How old is he?
73.
My grandma as well. Yeah. So she has a spot next to her late husband.
Yeah.
So our granddad. So and actually I know that she is fully prepared. So she has some of money, clothes, right? So and all of our family. So everybody knows where it all is stashed. And so
that's interesting.
And you have to pay for this.
For the place.
I don't know. He got it like years and years ago. So I don't know.
Well, it's not for free for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's,
as far as I know, it's quite pricey.
Yes, God, yes.
Do you think it's ethical to pay for death, like for burying someone?
This is so controversial, I think.
Yeah.
Really.
What? You mean paying for the services or for the place?
For the place itself.
For the place,
I mean, if we look at it from the point of like business, there are so many people who make business on death, and they make money on people's grief.
All the people.
Yeah, it's like we pay for being born and we pay for dying. So it's a bit
philosophical part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's a lot of money is involved in that as well. Yeah. You know what? I would, if anyone is kind of curious about the topic and want to know more about how things are done, there is actually a YouTube channel of a woman, and the YouTube channel is called Ask a Mortician. So she's working in this industry. She prepares the dead for the deceased, for the ceremonies and so on. And she talks a lot about how people process things, how things are organized, and so on and so forth. So yeah. But, apart from burial and cremation, there are other things nowadays. So do you know anything about the alternatives?
Sure, that sort of green burial. Yeah. When the body is being buried in a certain place with no bombing or maybe some sort of chemicals involved, right? So that it's as eco-friendly as possible. Yeah, probably the coffin might be made of wood and some materials which
environmental friendly.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I mean, become a tree basically.
Yeah,
you can continue. So you kind of, you give back to the Mother Earth, Mother Nature,
Or you can donate your deceased body to a medicine faculty that people can just work on your body and just, you can be kind of beneficial for other people that they can understand human body or whatever.
I actually
cadaver would be a better option.
The idea of organ donation, So I watched a lot of things in the US and Canada. So those special bracelets, if the person wants to, if the person wants their organs to be used to be passed to the people in need after the decease, right?
We discussed this topic in one of my speaking club lessons.
Oh, you
organ
did?
donation.
Really?
Yeah,
what was the
donation.
reaction?
The reaction, it was kind of mixed. People are not that much used to the idea, right? After that, why should I give after I die, why should I give
why would you need them?
Organs to other people? It was kind of ethical.
I think it also comes down to the fact that people imagine it, being quite a dirty thing, meaning, that they will be basically, I do not know, open, cut open, like cut open, like something like, but no, that's not the case. You still, you're left as looking as a person and so on. It's just some of the organs continue. their life.
And what I learned was it's not so common to donate your organs in Russia, I guess, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have an indication on our driver's license if you're okay to donate your organs or not, if anything happens like an accident or something.
Yeah. Actually, I had a student in Turkey, in your country. He was a doctor, and he signed actually a paper for this. In case he dies, he can donate his organs.
I think that's great because people who are waiting for some sort of donation, they can wait for years and years and years and years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but things happen. That's true. So, organ donation, what did you call it? Green burial.
Green burial, yes.
So what, actually, talking about the green burial, there is a thing in Sweden, in one of the Scandinavian countries, where instead of using some sort of fire or anything, they use a special solution that
Burns
dissolves
inside out, I guess, right?
It's not like burning, but it kind of dissolves the body. And in the end, you're left with like a handful of fertilizer. So they can add some sort of seeds to that. So you can continue your life as a rose bush or as some lavender bush. Not lettuce.
Become a tree, yes?
Yeah. So as a tree, as a beautiful bush of flowers and so on.
And instead of cemeteries, so people have a forest, yeah?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Good for the environment.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking about that? You have very mixed feelings on your face.
I think it's if we speak about biology, and such things, I think it doesn't make sense from another perspective, because when you dissolve the body and you put that material in dirt, actually with time it will also dissolves more and it will disappear. And later the plant, after some years, the plant will rely on new materials to grow. So it's the same. You cannot grow one tree with the same organics forever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, that's an interesting idea to perspective to look at it from. What do you think of cryogenics?
Cryogenics.
So it's been a topic of different sci-fi books for many, many, many decades. So, this idea of being frozen and then being thawed out and brought back to lifetime sometime in the future. What's your attitude to that?
So sci-fi.
So sci-fi. But if that was possible,
I'd love the idea.
You'd love it.
Of course, because I'm so into sci-fi, and I would love to consider the idea that my body would thaw back and so they sort of reincarnate or restart it. Yeah. And I want to go into the space, and discover and it all. So it's not possible now. What about the future? Yeah. Maybe.
So you would go for it?
Of course. Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah. Because
so we have a little club of people who wouldn't. And
yeah. In this matter, experiencing the horror of death once in a lifetime, I think it's enough. Because if you wake up someone in the future, I think it will be so hard to adapt with the society.
That's the point that I was thinking.
With everything, with the technology there, the style of living. Maybe the future will hold, for example, maybe you will wake up in a war or something, I don't know, like a world war or something like this,
Yeah.
You will be needed as a soldier.
And you will be an analog person
so it's
in a digital future, so you won't function in a way, right?
If we imagine, let's say, a person from the 1930s suddenly, appearing in our lifetime, they would be so lost.
Yeah.
With all the phones, the technology, they would just feel out of place. So, yeah, I agree with it. Remember there was a cartoon, Futurama, where a guy kind of woke up in the future. So, yeah, that would be too hard to adapt.
But he adapted.
But damn it, you watched this, didn't you? Of
course.
So, yeah.
And,
if we talk about, so we've talked about cremation and what can be done, other alternatives to the body, but what can be done after the cremation? Because there are apparently so many options.
Put the ashes into urn and...
Yes.
travel the world with that urn,
or climbed Mount Everest and just pour it down.
Like scatter
all the ashes. Yeah.
Scattering the ashes is an action of moving on, actually. It's an act of moving on. I have seen this many times, and when someone decides to scatter the ashes into air, so it means they moved on, like the pain finished and, such things.
Well, that's an interesting idea, but because then you wouldn't have some sort of a place to come to, so it's
Why
not it's not a
by the way?
cemetery. Well, if you travel, let's say scatter it over the
Okay,
ocean.
so you can scatter the ashes in a definite place, yeah? So which you loved or the person who deceased loved, right? So, and it becomes some sort of memorial, yeah? So it might be just a bench in the park, right? And so you scatter some ashes around it, and so it becomes the place to come there, calm down, and remember, yeah? So
don't
why
want to
not?
sound as a person with very dark sense of humor, but it's just when you do it, or if you do it, it's important to factor in the wind so that it doesn't come to your face.
Yeah.
Of course.
You would disappear within a minute. So yeah. Oh, my dad is gone. Yeah.
I know that people can also make jewelry out of ash, like some
or bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some sort of pendant, right?
Yeah, some people add it to the pendant, to some sort of enamel and so on. But actually, there is one more thing that you can use the ashes to create a diamond.
What?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I do not know the technology behind it.
Yeah. It's carbon. You can just squeeze it and make it like, why not?
That's interesting. Yeah.
I told my fiance, if you die before I do, I'm turning you into a diamond. Like I'm going to have somewhat carrots, like on my arm, like my hand. That's all set, So
nice idea.
Apparently. There's one more idea that people do in the UK, but I have very mixed feelings about that. Adding a bit of ashes into the ink and tattooing something. So you kind of use that as some ink.
I'm not sure that it might be healthy.
That's the concern that I have.
Because the ink is just a certain substance, right? And you add something to that, especially. So ashes, it's not
hygienic
at all.
Yeah.
Right. So
and think about that person diseased because of the illness or something.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to put that
in general,
body part into your skin.
When you have a tattoo done, they want things to be like, if not sterile, but at least as clean as possible. So they use disposable needles and so on. And adding some sort of ash, which is, that's, I
almost
know.
dust and you don't know what's exactly inside.
Yeah,
so
that's a no-no. That's a no-no for me, for sure. So
Really.
there are other ways to commemorate, somebody's and
Mummification.
memorialize.
Oh, yeah.
Mummification.
But it's not really a practice nowadays, is it?
Actually, it is in some South American cultures. I don't remember the exact place, but actually people do it, and they actually live with the demised people. They lived with them.
It sounds like a bit of taxidermy.
But they do. It's
creepy.
A little bit, yeah.
It's extreme. Yeah, it's a bit extreme.
They are sitting with your deceased relative in your living room on the couch.
They sleep with them in bed. Yeah,
that's like an extreme stage of denial. Creepy. But since we're talking about death and the culture of death, I think it's inevitable that we're going to talk about the future. So because now the technology is developing, we live in a fast-paced world and so on. So, and nowadays we have AI as well. So, and nowadays there are apparently some sort of other options. So I do not know if you know about one Korean mom and her VR daughter. Have you heard about the story? Have you?
Yeah.
Yep.
So can you briefly summarize it for us? The listeners, what happened?
I guess she lost her daughter and she couldn't take it anymore, and she was trying to find a solution to just bring her life in a way, and she made a kind of an agreement with the media moguls or whatever in South Korea, and they put the VR both, and they recreated the daughter, the deceased daughter, and they were like having an emotional moment in front of millions, like, and it was aired live, I guess, right? Do you think it's unethical?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
You are basically speaking to algorithms.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not speaking to a person, and it's created by another human, and it's like you are tricking your mind.
Yeah,
Like, it's not
absolutely.
And then after that, you're having the
denial.
volumes, like a high volume of volumes, to forget about that experience. It's not going to happen again.
I
Her
feel like-
daughter, her daughter was 6 years old,
Yeah.
and she had leukemia. And now, sometimes when you love someone that much, especially if it's of your own, like a child, of course the pain is deep, but not to the extent to create an illusion for yourself to satisfy your, feeling okay. And by the way, she didn't feel okay after that.
Yeah.
So
she
it
became
didn't work.
suicidal, right?
Yeah.
Sort of you have videos, you have photos to watch, to
Have the
rewatch.
memory.
Yeah, to those memorable moments of her or him being alive, right? So, and you go for just image, yeah. So there is a certain scenario, right? So it's not her behavior or something like that. So I think it's hypocritical.
Yeah.
I think it is due to a person's inability to get over the denial stage. So they don't want to believe that their loved one is gone and so on. But yeah, therapy would have been much better in this case, I believe. Because one more thing is that I believe that people in the vain attempt to have somebody, being digitally immortal, let's say, to have a VR or something of their loved one, they can forget about the real life that is still going on. So they'll be living in this virtual reality, not paying much attention to what is happening in their own life in the meantime. And that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Have you watched a Black Mirror TV show?
Yep.
No.
So
I watched some episodes, not all of them.
So there was an episode in, I think, season 2, which was called Be Right Back. Or do you remember this one about a woman whose husband died? So what did she do in
I
this
don't
TV show? Do you
remember.
remember?
I guess she was using kind of internet program that brought the husband back to life in digital environment. So she was kind of contacting with him.
So it was even a bit more than that, because in this, and just for those who do not know, Black Mirror is like a dystopian TV show. And
It was kind of a software, I guess, right?
yeah, it was like the software. So she uploaded all of the messages and so on. And based on this, she got her husband back, but that was, let's say, not a living person, but it was
Virtual,
the same. It was not virtual. The thing is that it felt like this person, so it was, I don't want to say a doll, but something like that, life size with the face.
Dummy, then.
Yeah, but as if it's a real person. So with the skin, with the hair, with the eyes, the speech, the thoughts,
That's why I would never watch that show.
Simulation, we can say, like.
Yeah, but it was like walking, talking, breathing. Well, it was not breathing, as you know, but, and at first she was so happy because this, let's say creature, okay, because it's not really a person. So since it analyzed all the messages and so on in the videos and everything, it was acting like a real person would act, like her deceased husband would have acted. And so that's why at first she was ecstatic. She was spending all the time with him, because he was speaking the same way, he's the same intonation, everything was the same. But then she started to notice, like, okay, it looks like my husband, it talks like my husband, but it doesn't breathe. He doesn't eat because, it's a creature, so it doesn't need to. And in the end, she just locked him up in the attic and let him meet their daughter and so on and spend like birthdays and so on together. So, and it was very thought-provoking.
She was also pregnant, I guess, right?
She was pregnant when he died.
Yeah,
yes. So, and that was a very thought-provoking episode, I should say. So, because a lot of people started to think like, okay, because the first initial reaction is, oh, that's great. She has, some sort of.
There will be setbacks, all right, you would lose your mind, all right? You're just attaching that kind of image that's not real, and you just tell yourself, or you're trying to convince yourself, all right, that is real, but it's not real. So you're going to just get a loon.
Instead of going on, so you're just holding back. And
yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes. And in the TV show, she actually lost all her social life because she preferred to spend the time with him rather than with her friends and family and so on. Yeah. One more thing that sounds a bit surreal and that has to do with the, digital afterlife and so on is sending text messages from the afterlife. Have you heard about that?
Well,
Yeah, I think yes, but I had no experience like that. Yeah, I mean, so I know that some people probably organize and then publish some sort of videos, so messages to their loved ones from the time they were still alive. Yes, and so like some wishes and some good words. So that sounds kind of comforting. Yeah, but the messages, I mean, just getting a message from my late friend. Yeah, come on. So
all right, let's meet. There is no person to meet. All right, so you're just it's an illusion, and it would be kind of bad for your psyche, So,
same idea like the woman who lost her daughter. There are some ideas that are discussed and shown in some TV shows and movies about death, and many people think about death actually and its different aspects and what can people do. For example, there was this TV show called The 100, and one woman, she developed like a smart artificial intelligence. And what does she do? She puts actually she put her consciousness into that chip. So that chip, you have to put it in the back of your neck, and her consciousness will, for example, be with your consciousness in the same mind. And this way you can talk to her in your mind and everything. So people developed that technology with time in the future, and they started actually using it to jump into new bodies. For example, if I want to die, they have to take that chip and put it in a new body, and they have to kill the new body to do it. So it became unethical. Yeah, and there was one guy. He was loved by his woman, and she was a doctor. And when she lost him, he was like in a coma, and she took the chip and she put it. There was like a very strange kind of religion, and that religion was set to sacrifice people for some leaders, and they
Scientology.
Yeah, they made some illusion for them that they have to sacrifice and they will be appreciated forever and that they will be with their gods, So they infiltrated that religion, and they took someone who looked very handsome and younger than her, and she put the chip there. When he woke up, he was looking at himself in the mirror, and he didn't accept himself, and he committed suicide.
Oh.
Yeah. He destroyed the chip and he committed suicide. So there are many aspects actually about...
But no matter what we talk about, have you noticed how it's always some sort of a dilemma and some sort of ethical/unethical situation?
Yeah.
And this idea of digital immortality has been seen in many TV shows these days as well. Yeah. So I remember watching Upload. It's a TV show where after death, you basically have a choice. You either just die forever, or they upload your mind into the cloud and you continue living only in this some sort of digital space. You can still talk to your relatives. You're still like living only in this sort of cloud. And it kind of showed this some surreal aspects as well, because the main character of the story is a rich guy. So he continues living, in this afterlife, in this cloud. So they have great mansion, he can change the weather as he likes because it's all digital. But then, if he wants some coffee in this afterlife, it says, just swipe your card or something like that. It's going to be $10 or this many dollars. And if people are poor and they choose this, they have like 20 megabytes per month. So they start reading a book and so on and so forth. But when they read, they only have access to like 20% of the book and everything else is just for money. And I'm like, oh my God.
All right, it's kind of a subscription in afterlife, you know.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So and I remember I had
is
very
that
mixed
what we are
feelings.
coming to?
But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the humanity comes to this, because there is a tendency to kind of make a business out of everything.
Yeah, of course.
Monetize everything.
This
So
is such an upsetting thing.
I think the term "rest in peace" is said for a good reason. Like I think people are just thinking like they want more from this life. I think one life is enough. When it's your time, it's your time, and we are not the first ones. Like if we think about how many people lived on this planet and how many people died and how many like children died, old people died, you know, like everybody dies, okay? So it is something that happens. It's life. We need to accept it, embrace it, and stop thinking about like reviving ourselves in the future and such like extreme ideas, because it's a source of no satisfaction. Like you were given this life, okay? You have a time. You die, that's enough. Like other people will come and live also. That's it. Rest in peace. Yeah.
I love, the attitude that Mexicans have to it, because in there, I love their sort of tradition. So you have heard about the Day of the Dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dia de los Muertos. And they believe that as long as you are remembered by your descendants and by your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, you will be alive.
Yeah.
Basically.
Great idea.
So you will only die when the last person who remembers your name dies. So, and I kind of love that. So it kind of shows that, hey, life does not stop when you die. You still live in the memory.
It's a kind of transition, you mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, that's
Why
kind of.
not?
Well, if we talk not about, let's say, digital immortality, but a way to bring back the memory, maybe. Have you heard about how in 2020 Kanye West gave a present to his then wife, Kim Kardashian?
The holograms?
The hologram of her
hologram,
deceased
yeah.
father, yeah. So what do you think about that?
But for me, it sounds the same as it was for the Korean woman, yeah. Or
Really?
It's the same.
Sort of,
Same concept.
yes. I mean, if it's like, I don't know, a beautiful video with the memorable photos and stuff, so yeah, why not? I'll go for it myself. But if it's some sort of hologram, AI is included, and this is all kind of it's planned, and it's not your father or daughter speaking exactly. So.
Oh, I thought he couldn't
Right.
speak in the hologram. Like it was just like, some
Just
sort
an
of a
image.
moving picture or something like
but
that.
again, it's delusional, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Do you happen to know if he could like speak and there was any sort of voice of something like that in the hologram?
probably,
don't-
yes.
But it's pre-programmed, I guess. You just
Well, yeah.
you just install a certain
Yeah.
audio
Sort of
or a
text,
song
yeah.
or whatever, or the voice
Ah.
code, that you can't interact it like in natural way. So he or she doesn't reply back.
Unless you have the set of questions, yeah.
You can just
to
program
discuss,
it
right?
and write
So
the cues
it
and
sounds,
everything.
to my mind, it sounds pretty much the same, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't like to do that myself. To witness that myself, or maybe to be the part of it. Like if I was that hologram, yeah. Sounds, I don't know.
If we speak about hologram, okay, we have two aspects here. Aspect number one is that in the past we used to paint people, and then we invented the camera and we started taking photos of them. We keep the photos to remember. It's okay to remember. Now the technology developed. And if we speak about this, now we have videos. Also, you can watch the videos. Then if we have holograms, I think it's ethical to look at the holograms as a sort of media, like just like when you painted someone in the past, it's the same thing because it's our generation and we have this invention. But to put audios and to imagine that person is alive and he is real and or she is real and you are speaking to them, we will go back to the same aspect of the Korean woman, and it's like hypocrisy here.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
interaction should be limited.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. Yes. Yes. So, in general, I know that there are also different ideas as to what comes after death. So, if I may ask you, do you believe in, let's say, the concepts of hell, heaven, afterlife?
Yeah, I do.
No, I don't.
In nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what I believe because I've already told you too much science fiction and
Too
stuff.
much science fiction.
Really. Yeah, but still, this is some sort of comforting idea that there is something. Yeah,
Mhm.
heaven or hell, some limbo, probably reincarnation. Yeah, some that it's not your last stop. Yeah,
Mhm.
that probably you'll appear on a platform 9 3/4. Yeah, and Dumbledore will talk to you. Yes, some sort.
How to spot a Harry Potter fan? It's
Yeah.
like, say you're a Harry Potter fan
Yeah.
without saying you're a Harry Potter fan.
Right. So I mean that there is something, yeah, and probably I'll be a tree in my next life. So why not? Yeah. I mean,
Fair
so
enough.
Without that green barrel, yeah. So it's just transcending, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So there is always a chance that the
Yeah.
journey will go.
Right. So I would love that.
If you
idea.
believe in that.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. Like, there are some aspects that should unite us. For example, someone believes, someone doesn't believe, someone believes in other things.
Mm-hmm.
These are very interesting ideas, and I think each idea can give a sort of comfort.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very beautiful to think about reincarnation. It's very beautiful to think that nothing will happen after our death. It's very beautiful to think that there is hell and heaven, because if you believe in hell, you will be a good person. If you believe in heaven, you will be a good person,
That is the point. You
Exactly.
don't need abstract things to be
Exactly.
a good person.
Exactly,
That's what
yes. But some people, like, at least it prevents some minority of people from being bad. Actually, even those who believe and don't believe, you cannot judge them as good and bad, because it depends on the individual mentality and experience and character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, such ideas really should unite us, and it's very beautiful to think about such ideas. Everyone, even religious people who think, they are skeptical about some stuff about death,
But
and
anyway,
it's okay.
I'm sorry. Anyway, it's so interesting to explore. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Ideas.
beliefs, the
Yeah.
ideas. Yeah. So to guess if there is something.
But they're ideas. They're not proven. That's the thing that I'm just trying
Yes,
to say.
the
So-
idea.
there are many things
Yes,
which
actually
are not
no
proven,
idea if
even in scientific.
all right.
Yeah.
Right. What
Yeah.
I'm thinking is, all right. Okay, if you don't have any proof of something solid, how can you fanatically believing in that thing that's going to happen eventually?
It's not about fanatically believing.
no,
It's
not-
just
I'm
about
not-
exploring.
I'm
guessing,
generalizing.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
And so coming from Peter Pan, just believe, right?
Okay.
yeah, okay, Ur. The same concept. For example, you don't know for sure. When it comes to death, nobody knows for sure. Whether you are religious, whether you are atheist, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows for sure. But every person has the right to have his own ideas. And
I don't have any
Yeah,
objection
exactly.
on that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not speaking about the objection. I'm speaking about the concept of thinking. When it comes to death, nobody knows. Even if someone doesn't believe or someone believes, there will be always skepticism in that matter.
Okay.
Always, because
Okay.
we don't know. We don't know what will happen after that. It's impossible.
So can we say that it's a kind of wishful thinking about the heaven and hell or whatever?
Not only heaven and hell, about everything. Even not thinking about heaven or hell. Even if you think that nothing will happen, it's also a wish. Everything is a wish, because we don't know anything about death.
That's the beauty of it. Us
Okay.
having different beliefs and so on in the world in general.
Yeah.
So
makes
that's
us.
why exploring is the
Yeah.
best idea. I mean, so you have your opinion, so the other person has the other opinion, and all together you're like, oh, come on, the mind is beautiful. Yeah. So there are so many.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
that's the point.
Well, talking on the topic, I'm going to mention again the YouTube channel, which is Ask a Mortician if you want to find more. There is also some great books that I can recommend to those who are interested in the topic, both from the historical point of view and the scientific point of view. So the first one is the book by Mary Roach, which is called Stiff. And it's about how cadavers serve the science, basically what can be done to your body in the scientific world. Fantastic book, highly recommend. And to those who read in Russian, there are also 2 books by Sergei Mokhov, who writes about cemeteries, all this sort of death culture and so on from the historical and cultural point of view as well. How it all developed in Russia from centuries back, what was the attitude, what were the procedures and so on and so forth. And also he has a separate book on how we accept or not accept death.
Mm-hmm.
So what has been people's attitude to that again throughout time, and so on and so forth. Well, guys, and in the after show, we are going to discuss some of our personal experiences and cultural differences as well. So stay tuned for the after show. And if you don't know how to actually get to the after show, check out our private Telegram chat, which you can find through Big Apple Chatbot or through a link on our YouTube or Telegram channel. So that was Katya and my guests.
Alyona,
Ayoub,
Ugur,
So stay tuned.
thank you.
thank you.
thank you.